I'd like to begin this event by thanking all of you for coming. With no exaggeration, we are all on holy ground. And it's an honor to be here for any purpose, and this is a special purpose, a dedication for a piece of artwork which doesn't have any competition, has no likelihood in the world, no likeness. We will unveil that in just a little bit, but first I would like to call on Shanaz to say a prayer in Persian, followed by Kevin Locke, who will bless this property.
This is a prayer from Abdul Baha, and I don't know if it is translated formally, but my understanding of the prayer in English is submission to the will of God under all conditions, and understanding that there are things that we want as a human being, but is not the source of our happiness. So under all conditions, we must submit to the will of God and be happy. قضا باش و از خدا خواهش مدار همچو گمان که آرزوی انسان است خیر انسان است پس امور را به ید قدرت الهی تسلیم دار و از خدا خواهش مدار البته فضل الهی شامل گردد و آنچه خیر و صلاح است شامل شود و البها لک
I'd like to ask Joe Winger to step forward and assist me in unveiling the sculpture. Joe? The Baha'i faith was founded in the Middle East in the 1840s. Its introduction in the United States can be traced back to the Parliament of World Religions in Chicago in 1893. By 1900, there were nearly 1,000 Baha'is living in the United States and Canada. Plans to construct a Baha'i temple in Chicago emerged in 1903, but it would be another 50 years before that temple was finished. 2 lots were purchased along Lake Michigan in 1907 in what was then Grosse Pointe, now Wilmette. And raising funds for the temple's construction proved difficult as it was financed solely by individual contributions from Baha'is around the world. The son of the religion's founder, Abdul Baha, dedicated that temple near Chicago during a visit to the United States, and the foundation stone was laid in 1920. The architect, whose name I hope I can pronounce, Louis Bourgeois, took 9 years to imagine that edifice in Wilmette through a series of dreams and visions and a determination to make a brand new thing that represented all the best of what had happened before. Our artist, who I'm going to ask to stand at this point, Saigal, does not call himself an artist. So I will correct myself and introduce him as a man involved in the creation of this sculpture, who acted as a conduit for its creation. Thank you. Mr. Saigal and myself and the committee interacted many times, making small corrections and additions to his design. But I want to note that his design existed in his heart and in his mind for a long time before he became aware that there was an international art competition for a sculpture at this location. He held it in hand. He held it in heart, and sustained it and kept it a secret until he read that this competition was going on in a blog. And as he investigated further and further, he knew that that's where he was going to place his idea. That contribution stood out from all the rest. The contributions for the international art competition came from all over. And this piece of work is not paralleled by any of the others. I wanted to say a couple of things about the sculpture itself. One of the names of God is the open of hand. And if you look into the notion of an open hand, it's not holding a rock or a spear or something to do any damage to another person. The open hand is, I have no weapon. I'm not here to hurt you. This goes back 8,000 years or so. We pick it up in different civilizations all over the world. It's in India, it's in the Roman Empire, and so on. It goes back to antiquity, where even the Roman standards and a scepter of Siva in India has the open hand. In Germany, a rude amulet in the form of an open hand is fashioned out of stems of coarse plants and is deemed a safeguard for diverse misfortunes and sorceries in the old days, and is often given to their children. It is called the hand of St. John, or the hand of fortune. So the tradition of an open hand is that of not being an enemy and of being protected. What I find surprising is that there's a circle on the inside and a circle on the outside. It could have been made many different ways. But what I see is an interior circle and an exterior circle. What is inside is seen again on the outside. And I'd like to read a quotation from Baha'u'llah, the founder of the Baha'i faith. Likewise, reflect upon the perfection of man's creation, and all these planes and states lay folded and hidden away within him. Dost thou reckon thyself a puny form, when within thee the universe is folded? Then we must labor to destroy the animal condition, till the meaning of humanity shall come to light. The size of a human being is almost exactly in between the size of atoms and the size of the universe. If you look at the power of 10 and the number, minus 26 and plus 26. A 6-foot tall person, 5-foot tall person, is almost exactly in between the atom and the universe. And here we are, the most elevated spiritual entities on this planet, and our highest position is service. I'd like to invite Holly Hughes to the stage.
Well, we couldn't get a more beautiful, wonderful day for dedication of this beautiful sculpture. And all of you beautiful people have come together to make that happen. And I'm just happy to be a part of it. Thank you for allowing me to be here with you to celebrate and dedicate this beautiful sculpture. I'm impressed with what you've accomplished and the continuation of your dedicated hard work. And thank you to those who worked hard to put this incredible sculpture, whoops, that happens, doesn't it? To put this incredible sculpture in our hometown to represent unity in our community and making a positive difference for our hometown individuals and families. The symbol of peace, justice, and equality have never been more needed than they are today. We are strongest when we embrace our diversity and use our individual differences to create a thriving community. This sculpture is a lasting statement both to those who live here and those who will see it long into the future. Thank you again for caring enough to put forth this eternal symbol of unity for the whole community to enjoy and reflect upon for years to come. We are stronger together than we are apart. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Holly. I asked the sculptor, would he like to name the sculpture? And I was thinking maybe a phrase or something. He said one word: unity. At this point, I'd like to ask David Douglas to address the audience.
It couldn't be a more perfect day. This couldn't be a more perfect group of people. One of the phrases from the Baha'i writings that we're all familiar with is ye are like flowers of one garden, and different hues, different shades, different colors, different temperaments, different complexions, different countries, different languages, all here together in this newly named Baha'i Reflection Gardens. So I was reflecting a little bit on the history of this land and the people who have occupied it, and did a little teeny tiny bit of research, enough to probably get me in trouble, but we'll see. So I understand that maybe 10,000 years ago or so, this land was covered by ice. And that the ice receded and people came from different parts and inhabited the area that we are now. It was mainly Native Americans, some of whom came to be known as the Ottawa or the Potawatomi, and that they were the primary occupants of this area that we call Muskegon until maybe the late 1700s. They named this area a name that was, let's see, I think it's the land of the Swampy River or Swampy River, something like that. Anyway, but they like many other places throughout America, what we call America, you know, the features of the land, the places of the land are named by the names given by the original inhabitants, and that's true of Muskegon. Then in maybe the late 1700s or so, the French came with their fur trading companies, and after the French and Indian Wars, then the English and European, other parts of the European settlement, people from other parts of Europe were here as well. And it became very prosperous, mainly through fur trading and lumber. Very prosperous materially, but spiritually we can't say so much because it was at great cost to the land, at great cost to the people who were here before. In fact, I understand that there were more millionaires in Muskegon in the late 1800s than any other city in the United States, and that includes New York. Imagine that. Yeah. And of course you have to imagine where this wealth came from. Some of it came because of the Chicago fire, and they needed the lumber from this area to rebuild the city of Chicago. So guess what? Muskegon helped to rebuild the city of Chicago, at great cost, of course. Now this particular piece of land, and just a small piece of it, one house, came into Baha'i possession in 1906. Now the Baha'is, one of their founding principles, of course, is unity. And out of that unity comes the attitude of service and the spirit of service. The love of mankind is exhibited through service to mankind. And so in the spirit of service, Baha'is took a portion of the money that was designated to build a temple in Chicago or near Chicago, and they bought a house for a widow who had 3 grandchildren that she was taking care of. And so this land here, this piece of land, was purchased by Baha'is in the spirit of service. I might also add that the spirit of service is actually inspired by the spirit of worship. And you can see that connection between the house of worship in Chicago and the service that came from the money that was designated for that house of worship in Chicago. And by the way, the house of worship in Chicago got built. Many of you have been there. I hope if you've not been there, it's one of the most magnificent temples on this continent. So I would encourage you, if you ever have a chance while you're visiting the North Shore of Chicago, to visit that. So like the house of worship in Chicago that stands for unity, and the unity of all religions, the unity of all people, the unity of all nations, the unity of all cultures, as well as the diversity, which our representative, our state representative had mentioned. So we have unity and diversity here in this audience and also here in this sculpture. So this sculpture is unity and diversity, as well as service. The original guidelines for the contest were to find a sculpture that represented peace, brotherhood, unity, and justice. So here it is, a symbol of unity, but you can't separate unity from justice, and you can't separate unity from brotherhood, and you can't separate unity from peace. We also know that there will be no peace without unity. And so we're hoping that this sculpture and the gardens it represent will actually become a focus of unity. It's already a focus of worship. We have a nice little plaza over there that I understand folks from the neighborhood feel very free to come and meditate and pray. So this sculpture also symbolizes, I believe, the next step in community development for this area. So Baha'is have a compilation of programs, conglomerate of programs for people of all ages. They have programs that nurture the tender hearts of children. They have programs that help middle school age children, youth, learn to make good decisions that are founded on basic spiritual principles, the same spiritual principles that are found in all of the religions of the world: truth, justice, work, service, prayer. And of course, we really hope that the friends and neighborhoods in the immediate surroundings of this sculpture will come together in even greater numbers as collaborators to build a vibrant, dynamic, spiritually and materially prosperous community. We know that that journey has already begun. We know that it's not a short one or an easy one, but we hope that all who are gathered here will pray and work for the success of this community and its children. Thank you.
Thank you, David. Take a quick look at the sculpture. Who among you can tell which hand is male and which one is female? With that thought in your minds, I'd like to introduce Tiffany Toriumi as our next speaker.
Good afternoon, friends. It's aloha, which means God is most glorious, and what an appropriate time to give that greeting on such a glorious day, such as this, and such a glorious occasion. Looking at this beautiful sculpture that we've been gifted, that this community can enjoy, and thinking about what the Baha'i faith has to say about beauty. That beauty and attraction to beauty are spiritual qualities, and that the gift of generosity and beauty that can express itself in so many ways, in a garden, in a beautiful home, in a piece of art, in a word, in a graceful action, in an act of kindness and generosity. We pray that this gift of beauty will continue to manifest in this neighborhood and this community, and will bring forth even more and more expressions of beauty and of love and of joy between the various members of humanity, which we are all family members. In the spirit of that, I'd like to offer a prayer that is a blessing, and it might be well known to some of you, so if it's going to be in the form of a song, so if you'd like to sing along, please do. And I'd like to bless this spot. Blessed is the spot and the house and the place and the city and the heart and the mountain and the refuge and the cave and the valley and the land and the sea and the island and the meadow, where mention of God hath been made, and his praise glorified.
circles. Some researchers say that the first circle a child recognizes is the iris of their parent's eye. That could be their mother or their father. But in many cases, it's the first circle they see. And then they see moons and suns. They see the circle of life. They see the circle of spirituality, evolving, different cycles of prophets, different cycles of ages and millennia. In life, there are many circles. And part of a circle is an irrational number, pi. How fitting. Unending, impossible to conclude. At this point, I'd like to welcome Kevin Trotter to the stage.
Dear friends, it is such a privilege to be here with you, to welcome this new second garden item to this wonderful space that's here. The space is here to be of service to humanity. If we were to think of ourselves as spiritual beings in a material world, then we need spaces like these to have moments of reflection and thought, but also of joy and laughter. I have 3 little ones back home from 5 months to 4 years, and they're constantly filling me with joy and laughter. So I hope that this space can also serve like that for more and more people. All generations, young and old, can come here and stretch their legs, share a hug, offer a prayer, or even learn about new concepts. I think a lot about the younger generations, both my own, but then the hundreds, maybe thousands of others that are starting to work towards the betterment of a new community, of a community that's inspired and that's willing to that's willing to affect a transformation in their surroundings. There's a lot to learn, and it feels like knowledge just keeps increasing in quantity. Once we do learn, we have this obligation to teach others. We are all here and we all know what we know because someone has taught us. And thinking both of material and spiritual knowledge, even the creation of this sculpture required technological advances. A particular method of cutting was used using high pressure water rather than, for example, a laser. High pressure water is able to create the cuts without leaving any kind of blemish. It is able to maintain its purity. And what more fitting thing than water itself, which is the source of life. So this duality of material and spiritual, it's actually appears in one of the first concepts that we share with others when we're starting to work together to build a better community. We share a concept that Baha'u'llah has shared with us, which is that the betterment of the world can be accomplished through pure and goodly deeds and through a commendable and seemly conduct. And this world greatly needs to be better. This city, our neighboring cities, our country, everywhere. Of course, we see and we know of comfort and tranquility, but we also see so much tragedy. So much that's the cause of systemic oppression. And any truly conscious individual cannot remain aloof to the suffering of the rest of our human family. Our deeds, what we do, and our conduct, who we are and how we behave, can bring about this betterment. But how? It seems like we also need to get organized. We can act as individuals, but we can be more effective, we act as groups. So we need to be organized. We have to work together. We can leverage our talents. It's so nice to see the little ones here with their talents and ideas, and then so many other generations present with us that have learned and have applied their skills in so many different ways, all of us can come together and leverage each other's talents. We need a plan. Now, we don't necessarily know the full details of the plan because social constructs change rapidly. Just speaking briefly with the representative, Holly, even this town, Muskegon, has seen so many changes in social reality over the last many decades. So whatever it is that we do, we should do it in a learning mode. The Universal House of Justice, the worldwide administrative body, has provided the Baha'i community with a framework for action, a plan. It has a view that is able to encompass all of the experiences from all over the world, all cultures, geographic regions, experiences of all ages, of all education levels. And the House of Justice is able to take these insights and distill them. And when they're illumined by the guidance from the holy writings of the Baha'i faith, this plan and this framework for action can be an effective channel for change. In one of its messages, it writes that the chief aim of the Baha'i community is to initiate a process for building capacity within an area through which its inhabitants, prompted by a wish to contribute to the spiritual and material well-being of their communities, are enabled to begin offering acts of service. The programs that were mentioned earlier, these are programs that allow us to be of service to our fellow human beings. And these start to create certain patterns. Now, this plan is not enough. Something that we need to do is we need to also exemplify the kind of society that we wish to build. In order to have a truly just society, we would also need to exemplify justice. But how do we acquire some of these spiritual qualities? Is it possible to acquire generosity by going up a mountain and sitting there? Is it possible? How do you acquire generosity by doing that? You would have to engage with someone. You would have to be with someone and show them generosity for you to be able to develop that generosity. It's true then with all of our spiritual qualities, in order for ourselves to develop them as individuals, we would want to be of service in doing so. These spiritual qualities can be, for example, kindness, justice, truthfulness, trustworthiness. These can be tools that help us navigate our society more effectively. Now, these qualities are also moved and influenced by certain forces, such as the love of God, attraction to beauty, and a thirst for knowledge. These forces strengthen our sense of purpose, and it allows them to change our own selves, but also to contribute to the transformation of our society. In particular, one of these, attraction to beauty, as a spiritual quality, on one level, it's manifested by our delight in the natural world. We are here, we experience this breeze, this lovely shade, this space. We can also appreciate the arts and music, which we hope to all partake of in the following moments. And we have through our songs and the energy that is felt. But on another level, we can also seek order and meaning in a longing to be in a joyful spirit with others. So how do we participate in meaningful experiences? We've seen throughout the country, in areas like San Diego, in Washington, D.C., in a small town called Florence in South Carolina, where there's tens, if not hundreds of youth that have said, I see this potential that we can all have. We can work. I can see how we can all work together. I can see how I need to develop my own spiritual qualities, but I can only do that by being of service. And they have come together and they work together. They give spiritual insights to the younger generations. They And these younger generations, I was reflecting just a few moments ago, in 10 years' time, they are the people that are running so many different aspects of society. I'm thinking to some of the junior youth, these youth age 12 to 15, how such an important age this is. I remember thinking about some of the ones I worked with 10 years ago, are now past college and employees and builders of new companies that are having an effect on the society that we live in. Also, there's certain immediate realities. For example, education. One could say, well, what can we do? The government isn't able to provide necessarily what we need. Or so what would it look like for us to develop the qualities to address some of these challenges, say the challenge of education, ourselves? How do we get organized to do that? I think that in the patterns of the community life of the Baha'i faith, we can see how consultation can help solve all of the problems that we see over time, and it's not an immediate solution. We see actually all generations, how the grandmother, with the wisdom that they've gained over the many decades of life, is able to spend time with a 13-year-old or a 17-year-old that's navigating through bullying in a school or some kind of problems with their friends, and they're able to give this wise counsel and advice. And so how the multiple generations coming together can create a new system of learning where we learn from each other about how to navigate in this life, this material life that we have as spiritual beings. So I just also wanted to end on some words that the National Spiritual Assembly shared with the community, which I found really motivational. It says here, "Let us consecrate ourselves to the creation of a world in which knowledge will be the province of all, where there are no limitations imposed upon a soul by virtue of race, gender, or creed, where the material and spiritual aspects of life are in harmony, and where all the truths essential for human progress are held sacred." Let us enjoy this evening together, and then for what comes next, to be of service to our community.
Thank you, Kevin. I believe I might have forgotten to thank Tiffany, did I? Well, thank you, Tiffany. I'm sorry about that. I understand that somewhere in Texas, in one of the larger cities, they have a university that has a course in diversity training. And I pictured that. I looked up some of the details. And first they teach you diversity tolerance, which is not enough. And then they teach you diversity appreciation, and then they stop. I'm thinking to myself, you're still not done. You don't understand that diversity is mandatory. So with that in mind, you are all my brothers and sisters, and I need you. Because without contrast, I don't know who I am. Without service, I don't know where I'm headed. At this point, I'd like to invite Kevin Locke to the stage.
All right, well, I'm so happy to be here for this grand occasion. I got to meet the artist, Sai, right here, and I really applaud you on your creativity. That's a divine gift. I mean, after all, we do address the one above as the creator, and it's one of the attributes of God that we celebrate. And so this afternoon, I'm really happy to be here to celebrate with all of you. And I wanted to dedicate a few songs to everybody here. And the first one I'd like to do for everybody is going to be an Eagle song. And before I do that song, well, it's really a custom that we have over where I live. I live in Wakpala, South Dakota, and it's one of the 8 districts on Standing Rock Reservation. We kind of made the news last year, Standing Rock. for the stand that people took, to uphold this resource, ostensibly or initially the resource of water, but then it extended out to a lot of other things as well. But one of the customs that we have at Standing Rock is that they say whenever you go someplace, it's really good to acknowledge and to show consideration and courtesy to your host. Since most of you live right around here, I'd like to observe that custom right now. And so I'd like to dedicate a song to all of you, my hosts here. It's going to be the Eagle song. And now, before I do this song, I'll tell a little story. And when one of our leaders from Standing Rock was asked to, he was told that he had to forfeit his heritage and give everything up and surrender and culturate, his response, he says, Hia, wambliki kanche hechak tishni. He says, no, it's not necessary for an eagle to become a crow. And his name was Tratanki Otake, meaning sitting bull. In English, they say sitting bull. But I'll tell you this little story. I've got this book here. I know this sounds like callous and crass commercialism because this is a little book that we made, children's book. But I'll just use some of the illustrations here to accentuate some of the themes. Anyway, according to this legend, if you can see the picture here, long ago there was a great flood. Can you guys still hear me okay? Yes, sir. Get up here a little closer. You see this picture, but the reason for the flood was because mankind is very disunified. So the result was all this dissension, strife, animosity, hatred, and so this picture kind of shows that, if you can see it. See that all the disunity, darkness. See little things over their heads? Yeah. Anyway, so the Creator above decreed that the earth should be purified. There should be cleansed. There should be purged of that defilement, the darkness or the wickedness in people's hearts and their thoughts. So the Creator above sent a great rain, a great deluge came down upon the earth. You can see that. The picture of the rains coming down, and all the people are looking up in horror. Looking up in horror. But anyway, so then not all the people were wicked. There were some devoted, pious souls, and so these faithful souls, they got together and they sent a voice, a collective voice heavenward, and they asked the Creator above to create continuity or to perpetuate anything heavenly and good in the heart of humanity. So they sent that collective voice upward. Now these souls also perished in this deluge, and their remains became this, it's a mineral. In English they call it catlinite. And it's there's one place on the planet where they get it. It's over in kind of in western Minnesota. But they say it's the remains of those pious souls that went down into the earth and transmuted into this very beautiful, soft and deep red mineral. It's also known as pipestone. So we use that even up to today to bring to mind the covenant we have, the heavenly covenant. But at the last minute, that voice reached the heavens, and the Creator sent a great eagle down to the earth. So the eagle came swooping down. It's just a legend now. Came swooping down and then plucked that sole survivor of the human race out from certain death, rescued her from the floodwaters, and flew aloft with her. And they flew, but there was no place left to land. Finally, so they were searching for a place to alight. But there's no place, no firmament was left. But finally they found a place. It was the top branch of the tree of life. So there they landed, there they were safe, and there they waited until the floodwaters began to recede. Oh, I forgot you guys. The floodwaters began to recede, and eventually the earth was exposed. And the earth became renewed, became beautiful. Just like today, you look around, it's a perfect day. Did you all notice that? I think everybody noticed that. They, in our language back home, we say "towanshicha." That means total blueness. Total blueness. It's the mark that the Creator put up there for us, for this day that we can be here together. So we can't ever forget that. Everything was blessed in every way today. But this is the way the earth was renewed. And the earth became, green and beautiful and abundant, colorful again. And according to this legend now, from the eagle and from the woman, from there descended the human race. You see, it's just a legend now. And then they spread out. They spread out over the world. They dispersed. And the legend says that someday the descendants would come back here on this land. Of course, it's very ethnocentric. We have the ethnocentrism. I think it's a good and a bad thing. But according to that legend, the descendants would all come back to our beautiful land here. We call this Makawita, the beautiful island right here that we all now call home. This beautiful island. Now they say North America. But so then the legend has it the descendants will all come back here. And when you look around, you do see a good representation of all the different diverse kindreds of the human race, especially around, I think, in Michigan, you really do. And then, we can see that there's still a lot of conflict, a lot of conflagration, a lot of polarization that is rampant all around. But the legend says that, the legend says that someday a generation will appear. They'll be able to look at each other and recognize that shared spirit of the eagle. I'd say that capacity we all have to activate our spiritual wings, to soar and to soar on wings of knowledge and understanding. So I'd like to dedicate this song to all of us eagles. I know all of the previous speakers, especially Mr. Trotter, was talking about the younger generation. And you yourself, I'm really nearsighted, but I can see you're young. You're very young. I couldn't tell from way back over there. But this is exactly what this legend is talking about. People such as yourselves, all these young people in here, they will be able to activate those capacities, those God-given capacities, and to soar in this day now. So I dedicate this eagle song to all of us eagles, especially the eaglets, younger people all around in here. And the song it's a song of the eagle soaring in the pre-dawn darkness. The eagle is compelled to fly up. And again, the eagle is just a metaphor for the ascendant nature of the human spirit. This eagle soars up above the darkness, soars up so high, sees that light coming into the world. Eagle calls out, says, "Mie tokahe ampeto wakie." In other words, the eagle says, I'm the first one to fly with the new day. The next part, "Wambaligalesh kana nunkasan. Hea au chanke mie tokahea ampetu owaki." In other words, this is what the golden eagle and the bald eagle say when they fly with this dawn of this day. So again, this is for all the eaglets here, all the golden eagles, all the white eagles, the brown eagles, the black eagles, a lot of bald eagles here too. Be proud of that. It's good. You earned that. Okay. All right. Hey, so go ahead and give yourselves a big hand, all the eagles out here. That's for all of you guys. All right. Thank you. Maybe I might do another song, but before I do that, y'all probably noticed there's a little fire going over here it's just now going down to charcoal or embers right now. But this is something that's really interesting that unites all of humankind. And maybe while I'm just giving a real brief explanation, Mr. David Douglas, if you have that little packet of tobacco, you could just maybe, what you can do, I'll just pass it around, and everybody can take a little pinch of it and just put it in your hand. Put it in your hand like that. And this, friends and relatives, this is the most addictive substance known to man. Did you all know that? It's right there. It's the most addictive substance known to man. And it only originates on this side of in this hemisphere we're standing on right now. It only comes from here. Prior to 1492, this was unknown anywhere else on the planet. Did everybody know that? You all knew that. Okay, I don't have to explain that. Anyway, again, it's the most addictive substance known to man. And I'm going to tell a little story while we're passing this around. Again, going back to the fire over there, this is something really interesting because no matter where you go on the planet, the fire is something that is like an archetype, or it's as you call a ubiquitous symbol that unites all mankind. No matter who you are, where you're from, at one time, your ancestors gathered around that fire. It doesn't matter where you're from. You could be from Europe or Africa, whatever your ancestors are from, they unified around that fire. So around that fire, whatever language you speak, whatever mother tongue you have, it developed, it grew around that fireplace. All those feelings of love, all the feelings, those heartfelt feelings of comfort and all these good feelings that we have, it all grew and developed and was nurtured around that fireplace. So this is why all of the revelators, all the messengers of God have used this symbol as a metaphor for something holy and sacred. I know here in North America, whenever people would gather, whenever they'd meet together, first thing they do, they kindle a fire just like that. That's why I asked David if he could just say a prayer before he lights that fire. And he did that. He made that prayer. And so this is something that's very unifying, just like the people around here. I think like the Odawa, the Potawatomi, the Ojibwe, or Anishinaabe, they call themselves people of the fireplace in one way, in one sense. Would you say, is that right? Oh, yeah, but do they use the fireplace quite a bit too? 3 fires. Yeah, that's what I thought. See, where I live too, they call it, the original word they use is Ocheti Shakoin. You probably heard that. Ocheti Shakoin, yeah. People of 7 fireplaces. But those 7 fireplaces not only represent the people, but it represents also the laws, the divine laws, the holy laws that came down. And so then whenever the people would gather, and this is what the first Europeans, like the Pilgrims or Jamestown people, what they experienced when they met with the original people here, the first thing they would do is make that fire. They made that fire, and then they would go through all the deliberations, the prayers, the consultations. And by that time, that fire may have burned down to the point where there was really nice embers in there. And then they would separate the embers out. And towards the end of their deliberations, they would use that tobacco, the one that's being passed around right now. They use that tobacco, and they'd put that tobacco over those embers and let that fragrance drift upwards. Now I'm going to tell you a little story, okay? This is a story I heard this from elder from just across the lake, a little ways from here now, across the lake, other side over on Wisconsin side. And when he told this story, he says, "Oh, we all have this story. All around this lake, everywhere, we use this story. Might be different in details," he was saying, but we all use this story. Anyway, I'll retell it here in a shortened form. But what he was saying, basically, he says that way back throughout time, the Creator above put many gifts down here upon this world, so many gifts upon this world. But there was always gifts that were withheld and kept apart up in the heavenly realms. One time the eagle was soaring up, and the eagle flew up so high, the eagle looked over and saw some kind of a gift that was being withheld from this world. And the Creator observed this and then authorized or commissioned that eagle to go back down and to convene a big gathering. And then, of course, they would all have a consultation, and they would decide amongst themselves who would receive that gift on behalf of all of creation. So all the animals, they all got together, and they all began to brag about how they're qualified, all the different powers and gifts that they have. And they were just going on and getting so carried away, celebrating, extolling, I guess you'd say bragging about all the beautiful qualities. And we know, of course, these are divine gifts, divine qualities that are manifest throughout the kingdom of names. But then towards the end, a little creature got up. We can say maybe it was a little mouse or some little creature got up. This little creature spoke up as loud as it could and says, wait, I have something to say. Anyway, this little creature spoke up and said, all of us here, we have so many gifts. Even me, as tiny and minuscule as I am, look at me. I'm so fast, so quick. I can dart around so fast, and I can dig, I can burrow, I can do all those things. But there's one amongst us who's really so pitiful, such a pitiful creation. There's one amongst us who really, eyesight is so poor, can't really see distance, can't see things up close either, very poor, can't see at night. Hearing is no good, can't hear things, can't really discriminate or discern different sounds. Its sense of smell is really just lamentable. It can't really detect anything, Its teeth are no good. It loses its teeth right away. Teeth are no good for anything, It's doesn't have any claws. It doesn't have any fur or hair. It can't dig. It can't swim. It can't fly. It can't go very fast. It just wears out right away, tires out right away. This is pitiful creatures here. There's one amongst us that's like this. And so it's kind of riddle. Everybody figured out the answer to this. What is it? Yeah, that's right. It's us. It's a two-legged one. So then all these creatures, they began to achieve consensus. They began to achieve consensus, and the Creator above is looking down upon this whole deliberation, the whole process. And when all the creatures reach this consensus, then the Creator above called down and says, "Well done, my grandchildren. This is well done." He said, the conclusion you have achieved is indeed my own mind, my own heart, my own thought. And as you have achieved this unity of thought, thus it shall be. These two-legged ones, these human beings, shall receive this gift on behalf of all of you. And when they use this gift, this powerful gift, Creator said, then I shall know that my teachings are being remembered. That these two-legged ones, when they use this gift, that all of creation will be remembered. All the rooted ones, all the different forms, all the winged ones, all the different types of winged ones, all the ones that swim, all the ones that crawl and dig, all the ones that move upon the earth, all the different levels of creation, the mineral, the plant, the animal, everything will have been called to mind and remembered when this gift is being used. As you pray and consult, I will know this. And I will also know that not only is all of creation being considered, but also how the actions that they're consulting about affect not just the youngest amongst us, not just the unborn, but even 4 as much as 7 generations into the future, that they have consulted upon this, brought this all to bear in their deliberations. And when this gift is being used like this, it'll be well-pleasing to me, because then I'll know that all these laws are being remembered. And so this is why, when the Mayflower people, whoever they were, wherever they came from, when they came to this land, that's what they always, every one of them records this process that occurred when they interact with the indigenous people here, that they invoke this covenant, invoke the covenant. But the part that's attached to that teaching that I wanted to emphasize here, did everybody know that story? Yeah. You knew that, right? Yeah. He knew that, yeah. That's why we're going to use this. We're going to use this tobacco here after a little bit, the one that's being passed around. We're going to use that pretty soon. But when you do use it, I would encourage you to reflect upon all these things, especially each one of us and our relationship to wherever we are. Because after all, I know you all have kindred or ancestors or roots that extend back to all different parts of this planet, but you're all here now. You're all living here now. And this, the beauty that you see around us, it's time that we took ownership of it. Especially like here in Michigan, I know where you have a lot of issues with water. Things like this, precious things like this. And the other thing about this original teaching, the way it was shared with us, was that there's a prophecy attached to it. And the prophecy is that in the future, those teachings, those laws are going to be forgotten about. There's going to be a disconnect. And that this gift, the gift that you're holding in your hand now, through which we, and even like they use this tobacco, we call it chanli. Use this sema, right? Did I say it right? Sema, sema. Around here they say sema, and this is the access that we use to if we want to receive any of the blessings of the creation, like any kind of medicines, things like that. They use it. Put it down with a prayer, and then they're in remembrance of all these gifts. They'll take that medicine, whatever it is that they want to use, they need to use, because it all comes from God anyway. But anyway, the way this elder was explained it was said that in the future, these teachings are going to be forgotten. And something that was initially intended to be good and to bring, call to mind the covenant relationship with God, then at that time when these are forgotten, then the source of goodness will turn bad, and it'll be the cause of so much death and destruction. Right here, that little, what I'm holding, what we're all holding in our hand, it'll be the source of so much misery for so many. And at that time, this is a sign, it's a sign that the laws must be renewed, the covenant would be renewed, the teachings would be renewed. And so truly we're living at that time now. We're living in this day now when we can bring to mind these teachings. We all have these gifts from whatever kindred group that we derive from. And this is a day we're living in right now. Just like those hands that are open around there. You see the way Mr. Gal made that? Those, it's just like we've brought these gifts now. We've brought them all to the center. And now is the time to release these gifts so we can all benefit. We can all be blessed by it. So with that, what I'd like to do is I'd like to offer this this dance presentation that I have. And so keep that tobacco right there. I'd like to offer this dance presentation. You know, I think everywhere you go, you find the people who are indigenous to different parts of the land. They use the arts in a very special way, unique way. And they use the arts, I know, I think in the dominant culture, I say dominant culture, the one that we all have to participate in that dominant culture, seems like the people lead stressful lives. And, so when they want to kind of like take a breather or kind of take a little break from that real stressful life that they're living, then they use the arts as kind of like, what do you say, it's like it's a way to escape their reality, whatever their reality is, you know, that stress level or whatever it is. And then they'll use the arts to escape that reality and go to some other realm. But here in North America, throughout time, they've always used the arts for the opposite reason, the opposite reason, and or the opposite goal. And so we always use the arts to connect with reality, to connect with that which is good and real, that which is holy, that which is eternal. And you know, any kind of divide or separation that we see with maybe our ancestors, through the arts we connect with that. So those dreams, those hopes, those prayers, those visions that they had, it becomes alive, and we realize that we can actually realize those and fulfill those dreams on their behalf, since they're not here. Do that on their behalf. Maybe the separation that we see between ourselves and the physical environment, that all disappears. That's all brought into oneness through the arts. We use it like that. We use the music like that. We use everything like this because we do live in a world of color, world of sound, a world of movement and beauty, world of fragrance. So when we want to connect with this world, we use the arts to do that. In fact, it's kind of hard to talk about because I know that, like in our local language, in Lakota language, there's no word for art. You can't even say it. You can't. It would be inconceivable to differentiate it from life. It's like that. But I'd like to offer this dance here now. I'll do a part that'll be solo, and then I'll do a part that'll be participatory. And so this will be kind of like the educational part of the program. Then the participation will be the entertainment. How about that? Entertainment for me, because I get to watch you guys. No. Anyway, I'd like to, when I do this here, what I'd like to do is to tell a little story and this relate this dance to the story. You can see that I'm just looking for the flattest spot up here. Okay, you can see that here I use these hoops. They're in 4 colors: the black, red, yellow, and white. Again, this design here, the circle you can see here in the sculpture that Mr. Gall made, is this is the world's most ubiquitous archetype. So for all people, it doesn't matter who they are, where they are from, the circle always represents the same thing. It represents peace and unity, harmony, balance, order. Everything good, everything holy is summarized or conveyed through the symbol of the hoop. And then I'm going to use mostly wooden hoops here. You can go to any stream or river anywhere in North America. You find willow. It's pretty good. Very flexible wood. You can use that. I just wrap it with different color. And then what I'll do now, before I do this, I'd like to give a little explanation. Basically, there's different parts of this dance. There's like the hard part, and there's intermediate, there's the easy part. So I'm not going to do the hard part, I'll just do the easy part. How about that? The hardest way of doing that is one hoop, because it takes a lot of speed, a lot of agility, a lot of coordination to do that, and a lot of athleticism. And then actually the reality is, the truth of it is, and a lot of people think I'm exaggerating, but I'm not, the more hoops you use, the easier it gets. Because when you use more hoops, you're just making designs. So I'm not going to do the hard part, like from 1 to 5. I'll just do the easy part. I'll start with 6, and we'll go to 28. So that'll be pretty easy. Now, since I'm not going to do that hard part from 1 to 5, I'll give a quick overview. Now, before I do that overview, I want to relate it to this story. And this is really a local story. I think it's very much local, and it kind of took different forms. And the way I got the story was from a man from, he was actually a Baha'i, he was an elder. He was a World War II vet, and he was from Dunseith, North Dakota, from the Turtle Mountain reservation there. It's right on the Manitoba border. And his name was Francis Cree. He used to come out here to Michigan quite a bit for different activities, Mount Pleasant and different communities around Michigan. He'd always come out every year. But he was a really respected elder, and he died about maybe 10 or 15 years ago. I forget when. But just before he died, we were over at his house. He lived in Dunseith, North Dakota. And he told a story, and he before he told the story, he prefaced it, and he said, this is one of the oldest traditions that we as Ojibwe people, as Anishinaabe people have. And he says, I'm going to tell the story, and I'm going to come back, and I want to highlight 2 details from the story, especially for the Baha'is. He says, I want to give this information to the Baha'is. This is what Mr. Cree said. And he was probably in his upper 80s at that time. And he said that this story of a woman, her name was, if I'm saying that, Gijigokwe. Did I say that right? Gijigokwe. the Sky Woman, right? The Sky Woman. See, I've got culture police are here. See? I don't want to get arrested, so I'll make sure you get it right. Yeah. Yeah. So anyway, Gijigokwe, the Sky Woman. So I think there's different versions of the story, but the way he told it was like this. And it's I'm going to shorten it down too. He said that the world was flooded. This world was flooded, destroyed. He didn't say why, but the animals were just floating around. There was no firmament, no place to alight, no place to walk upon, no earth. So the Gijigokwe came down, the Sky Woman came down, and she saw the plight of all of creation. So she commanded the animals to dive down beneath the waters and to obtain a piece of the firmament, the earth, the land, beneath the waters that had been submerged beneath the waters. So all the animals, in obedience to her command, they all dove down beneath the waters, and they went down as far as they could, and then one by one, they all started popping up back to the surface. But there was one that didn't come back. And so they waited and waited for such a long time, long time passed. And finally, at the very end, this little animal popped up to the surface. And it was dead, and it was the muskrat. And so this muskrat had been dead so long underwater that this rigor mortis, or the stiffness of the body, had set in. So this Gijigokwe commanded the animals to go over there and to pry its little paws open. So they went over then, in obedience to her command, they pried her muskrat's paw open. And there, right in the palm of that little paw, was a little speck of dirt right in there. A little speck of dirt, see? It was there. So Gijigokwe took that speck of dirt. She took hold of that speck of dirt, and she stood, and she began to pray. And as she began to pray, she turned in each of the different directions. See, this is why we use these 4 different colors right here. We use the 4 different colors to represent the different directions. And as she began to pray, she turned to each direction, and she turned to each one, and she envisioned everything in each of those directions. She envisioned all the beauty, all the color. She prayed and she talked about all the way the light would dance off the leaves, like up here, the sound that all the different plants would make as the soft winds would rustle them. She prayed about the movement of all the birds and the songs that they made. Of course, all this had been submerged now. She prayed about all the beautiful fragrances that would appear and would come, all the colors of this beautiful creation. And she prayed about all the different kind of streams that flow, and all the mountains and the seas and everything in here, and all the qualities that are latent or embedded in each of the different directions of this beautiful land, the beautiful world that we live in. She prayed about all this, the way the stars would shine, the way the sun would move, and the phases of the moon. All these things she included. She prayed about the earth itself and the power of life within the earth. She prayed about all these things. And that's why I wanted to mention that, because we're going to make all those in this dance and dedicate it to this theme that we're talking about right here. And then as she got done towards the end of her prayer, tears are flowing down her cheeks, down her face like this. And she saw a turtle swimming by. And so she took that little speck of earth that she had been praying over. She took that and she put it right in the back of that turtle. She placed it right in the center of the back of that turtle. That center, there's a center scale or whatever it's called on the back of the turtle. She put it right there. And as she was crying, a tear came down and touched that speck of earth that she had put down there. When that tear hit that speck of earth, the land began to spread out. The land came out, and it came out to where we have it today, so beautiful as it is today. So this is what Mr. Cree, Francis Cree, told us. But he said, and this was just before he died, he told us this. He said, now in this story, he said, I have something I want to mention to all of you Baha'is here. He said, I want you to listen to me. He says, think about the muskrat. the muskrat that went down in obedience to Sky Woman's command, all those other animals came back. Why? Because they realized that they were going to die if they stayed down any longer. Muskrat alone went beyond that. Muskrat alone pushed on and Muskrat knew that he wouldn't survive that. But Muskrat kept on going in obedience to that divine command, kept on going. And with his last ounce of strength, Muskrat pushed off and managed to close its paw around the firmament below the waters and to grab that firmament. And then he died at that moment and slowly drifted back up to the surface. Now, Mr. Cree said, this is what I want you all to remember. If you truly believe in what in your faith and what you want to accomplish, you have to give it your all. Don't spare anything. He told us that. I remember. I can never forget it. Don't spare anything. Give of yourself totally to achieve your goals. He told us that. The second thing I want you to remember, he says, I want you to remember Sky Woman. Gishigokwe. Sky Woman, she saw the end in the beginning. She visualized this whole creation, the beauty of it. And we as Baha'is, this is our command. This is our marching orders. We have to go out now and we have to create this world afresh, make this world afresh, cause all the beauty, all the color, all the fragrance to come out. This time to never fade, in the heart, in the collective heart of humanity, so it will never fade out. He says, I want you all to be like this and to shed a tear, if need be, in your sincerity as you pray to God, to give you that power, to give you that strength to fulfill your divine mission. So I never forgot that. He told us that. And I wanted to share that with you and I'd like to dedicate this dance and to that theme. Then I've got all these other hoops here. So I think we'll be able to get about maybe 50 volunteers in about 10 minutes. You're going to help us, right? We'll get about 50 volunteers in about 10 minutes. But just to give you a little heads up again, the designs we're going to make with the hoops, I'll give you, remember I said I'll just do the hard part. I'll start with 6. But I'll just do the easy part. I'll start with 6, but the hard part I'm not going to do. Now I'll give you a quick overview of that part I'm not going to do. So basically, if you use one hoop, what you're doing is you're celebrating your place in the hoop of life. Remember in Paris Talks, Abdul-Mahal says, Baha'u'llah has drawn the circle of unity. He has made a design for the well-being and security of all mankind. So we have a place in that design. There's no corner in there. There's no place to hide. There's no dark place. There's no back row. All we have are front row seats. We're all there, shoulder to shoulder, you see? Nobody's ahead of the other. So we have to celebrate that. So all the designs with one hoop, they would kind of bring that out, accentuate that theme, bring it out a little bit. So, and then you can go up to 2 hoops, and with 2, what it would be the sun and the moon, the sun and the moon. And so again, even these laws have been renewed. Baha'u'llah says, in the heaven of the religion of God, 2 shining orbs have been ordained, fasting and prayer. Fasting is the sun, and prayer is the moon thereof. So anyway, the moon, the beautiful moon, that controls the waters and so forth. But the main one we know is the sun. Like today, that beautiful energy is coming down. We all need the energy. All of creation, you see, is reaching up to receive and to embrace that energy coming down. Now, you and I, we need that. But the main thing that we need is the light of knowledge and the warmth of love and the divine love, the divine warmth. This is what we require now, individually and collectively. And when we get that, as we receive it, I should say, then we advance. We advance on the journey, the road of life. As we go on that road of life, then together, I guess individually and collectively, now since we're coming into the stage in the coming of age of humankind, where we're going through a transition period. So there's a lot of testing. I think we're all in the midst of that, every one of us. And sometimes, you know, we get stuck in there, we just feel like giving up, right? But we can't do that. We have to keep, we have to brace ourselves, keep on struggling, get through that, get to the other side, and then from there, we continue to reach up. See? Reach up just like a plant, reaching up. It's like these trees reaching up to receive that beautiful light. And just like trees, you know, we need the roots. We need our roots. And so, like here in Michigan, you guys can really celebrate your collective roots. I see so much diversity here. We don't really have that out in the Dakotas. We don't really have people of African descent, no Asian descent. We don't even have Hispanics, no Spanish-speaking population. All we have is like Germans and Lakotas. That's it. That's about it. But we know that God does have a sense of humor, because these are like the two most dichotomous populations on the planet. So it's like God put us together and said, okay, turkeys, deal with this. See what you can do with that. But anyway, no matter what it is, what our roots are, we have to draw strength from our roots and reach up now. Reach up collectively. So we don't see each other as strangers, but we can see each other more as like, maybe as like flowers. Flowers of one garden, see? We can see each other like that. Maybe we see each other not as strangers, maybe as stars. We can all shine. Bring that, be like that morning star of hope, or the North Star of guidance. Or maybe see each other like eagles. Does that make sense, everybody? Yeah. Got it? All right. Okay, here we go. So again, we'll just use this few minutes here, and I'll do this. And it's I want to dedicate all these designs, because as we go through, it's like the renewal of creation. It's like the springtime. That's why we use 28. Represents the days in that lunar cycle, and everything transitions from that cold, dark, lifeless state of winter into all what we see right now. But there's that transition period when all the signs of spring are rapidly appearing. And that's the analogous moment we are living in the collective history of mankind, where everything is changing so fast. But we have to be the agents of that change. So we're going to create all those designs, you know, the flowers, the trees, the birds, the butterflies, the animals, the stars, the rainbows, the lightning, the clouds, the mountains, the hills, everything like this. And so, see, then again, the colors represent different kinds of people, like different kindreds. So we have to be those entities, those agents of change that work together. See, we can't do it individually, but together we create the force of life. Does that make sense? Yeah. Create the spring, see? All right, so if you see something you recognize, you can applaud. Don't applaud me, though. We just got to encourage ourselves. And then as soon as I get done in a few minutes, and we'll get everybody who wants to can come out and give it a try. I got quite a few hoops here. All right, everybody know what to do? Did you all relate it to the story that I told earlier? That really we all have a big job to do to reestablish the firmament, to reestablish a foundation for mankind. We all need that. We need to see how we can work together to create, to renew this world, the world that the people here have always anticipated, look forward to. And now I made that, you see the design of the world. But now for the first time we see into the future. And that future is not out there. It's right here. It's right now. It's all of us in that design. The oneness of humankind. All the different hoops of humanity. We all have a place in that design. In that place again, is shoulder to shoulder. See, I'm looking into the future. That's why I'm taking my time. It's good to look. The future's right here. It's right now. So, we all have a place in there. And so, what happens if anybody gets excluded or left out? Did you guys figure it out? What happens? Yeah, it just doesn't matter which one you take out. See? The result always looks the same. But no. See, we are smart people here. We are intelligent people. We realize how important it is to progress on our journey. We create the pattern of unity. It's a beautiful pattern. It's interlocking. It's all interconnected. And that's why I was celebrating on the 4th, Interdependence Day. Yes. Yeah, and as we do this, create these new connections. Nobody's done it. We're the first generation to do this. Then and only then can we advance. Can we progress? It's together. No other way. The day in which we thought we could advance as individual nations or races or classes, that's over. Can't get anywhere that way. Only way we can advance and overcome what the earth sees now as insurmountable obstacles. You can see the whole country is polarized. You guys notice that? Yeah, we all see that, right? But the only way we can get over that is together. Cross that bridge together. Go beyond that rainbow together, see? That's what this park here is being devoted to, right here. That's why we're here, is that right? We're here for that reason, so that we can climb this ladder of knowledge. Maybe it's not a ladder, maybe it's a mountain. And we all have to get to the top. Nobody can be left out. We have to join Dr. Martin Luther King on that mountaintop. And on that mountaintop, we can't come back down. There's no alternative. All we can do is to launch our flight. This is our day. Just as Sitting Bull says, we're created this way, to soar like that. And as we soar, then we realize opportunities for us, which is why the Baha'i community is all about now creating a nest, foundation. We all need that, no matter how old we are. You little guys, me too. I'm in my 65th year now. I need that nest more than ever, that feeling of safety and security. We all need it. We all need that good place where we can begin to kind of break out from whatever's holding us back, crack that open, begin to stand up, see? Sometimes it's hard. We have to begin to open our eyes and see all this beauty, see all the life, see all this. We need to stretch our wings, you see. And then, of course, to achieve, to soar. Does that make sense, everybody? Yeah. All right. Okay, so here we go. Time to get to entertainment. So, what we're going to do is I'll invite everybody to come up, grab a hoop. There's some that are a little bit smaller. These are a little bit bigger. Grab a hoop, find a spot either on the stage or around on the grass here, and hurry. We need you right now. So I want you to put your hoop on the ground like this. You're going to step on the edge of it right here, see? push down. See, it just pops up. Try that. You guys see over there? Push down. Yeah, just flip it up like that. Now hold it in your hand like this. Put your thumb on there and just flip it over like that. Try that. Alright. Okay, now we'll slow that down. We'll slow that down. We'll hold it up like this. Then come down this side, over this side, back and forth. See that? It's just your, it's like a figure eight, but it's on the side. There you go, lazy eight. Very good. Very good, guys. All right, now we'll slow this down. We'll hold it up here like this. You're going to bring it down, slide it under your foot like this, so it's behind your knee. Now bring your knee towards your chin. See that? Same thing on the other side now, see? This goes back and forth. See, bring your knee up though, see? Like that. Yeah, see that? It goes right over. Okay, now guys, look. Go side to side. See this? Side to side. Side to side. Side to side. Back and forth. Alright, you guys got it? Side to side, okay? You can bring it all the way around if you want. You do a helicopter. Put your hand right on your head like this. Then we're going to put it now between our feet. Right here. Put one foot in. Like that. Put that down. Other one over. See, it's just locked in there. So you can balance like that. Alright. Now take it for a little walk. You can just walk it. See? Or you can jog it if you want to. Everybody see that? Okay, now hold it with both hands. Tap your toes under your toes. You guys see that? Just tap your toes, okay? Under your toes. Now just tap your heel. See? I'm going to bring it. Try it a couple times. What? Okay, put your hoop on the floor and hold your spot. Don't move. Yeah, this is Powwow 101. This is any powwow you go to. Get that beat like that. All the rhythm is contained in the vocal composition. But just get on that beat, just like you're walking in place. You can go all the way around like that. Dance just like that, like you're walking slow. Try jogging in that beat now. Warm up a little bit. Here's your basic step. You see what I'm doing? What you're doing, you shift your weight side to side. See? That's all you're doing. Shift, shift, shift. Get right in that groove right there. Then you can kind of tap it out. See what I'm doing? There it is. You guys got it. That's your basic step. Any powwow you go to. That's it. Put a little bounce in there. We're going to sing a song, and then we'll put the tobacco down over there. So if your prayers you had, just take that tobacco there, like we say, we thought about all these things in the future too. Put it right on there, right here. Put it right there. It's not really like a ritual or anything, but it's just people have been doing this for thousands of years. So I want to bring you all into this continuity. It's called continuity, folks. Say, everybody, as soon as you do that, put your tobacco on that those embers over there. You see that smoke is going up, and they say it goes out to the 4 directions, so that all of creation now is becoming cognizant that we ourselves here, we are obedient to this covenant, and we are aware of the covenant being fulfilled now, that now those laws are being renewed. So the Creator now is aware that we are all of one mind in this way. And that we've come here now to this place right here, that you're all blessed with your words, your prayers, and your presence. And from henceforward, this is what we're going to dedicate this park to right now, is to peace for ourselves, but it's serving the Creator above and our future generations. And so thank you all so much for doing this. Like I was just saying a moment ago, it's not just like some kind of weird ritual, but people have been doing this here for thousands of years right here. And so all we're doing now is we're kind of riding that wave. We're getting into that flow, going with that continuity. But now we're aware that we're living in these precious times when everything that our ancestors prayed for and envisioned and longed for, we can fulfill those now on their behalf. Anyway, we can do one more dance here. I've got this. You guys ever try a friendship dance? It's really easy. All you got to do is make a big circle. We'll hold hands like single file, one circle around. It's just a side step, so we're going to step to the left. I'll show you guys. Make a big circle, guys. We'll do this.
Our friend Pearlie Tyler has been passing amongst us blessed water, and I'd like to thank her for that. In many places, in many religions, it says that in the time of fulfillment, the seals of the books will be removed, the books will be opened. And I recently became aware that a translation has been changed, the one where it says, "Blessed are the meek, for they shall inherit the earth." As a child, I came to understand the meek as being people that were easy to bully, people who didn't defend themselves. You could use them for a floor mat. You could insult them and they wouldn't defend themselves. So as a child, I thought the meek were people who were pushovers and didn't ask for their rights to be recognized. But that translation is wrong. In Aramaic, the word that was the basis for the English word meek, the Aramaic word means, blessed are the aloof, blessed are the uncommitted, blessed are the studious and patient, blessed are the detached. So in essence, it means people who would not let anything get in between them and their spiritual connection with God. Blessed are the meek, for nothing matters except their connection with God, whether it be property, power, admiration, whatever it might be. So they would be meekniks. But the irony is this: for they shall inherit the earth. They don't even want the earth. Blessed are the ones who want their connection with God, because I'm going to give the earth to them, because they don't want it in the first place. They're going to actually take care of it. They have nothing invested in ownership. They want their connection with holiness. I'll give the earth to them. So, another adventure in unsealing the books. At this point, I'd like to say a closing prayer. O my God, unite the hearts of thy servants and reveal to them thy great purpose. May they follow thy commandments and abide by thy law. Help them, O God, in their endeavor, and grant them strength to serve thee. O God, leave them not to themselves, but guide their steps by the light of thy knowledge, and cheer their hearts with thy love. Verily, thou art their helper and their Lord. That concludes our presentation for today. Thank you.